Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. The first few weeks on the run were a blur of cheap motels and constant fear. Chloe and Maya were ghosts haunted by the man they had escaped. Every time a car that looked like Julian's passed by, their hearts would leap into their throats. They knew he was looking for them and they were his property, and he wasn't the kind of man who just let his investments walk away. They were alone with no one to turn to. Chloe's old friends from the foster system were a distant memory, and she was too ashamed, too scared to go to the police. What would she tell them? That she had been a willing participant in her own destruction? She thought they would never believe her. She thought they would just see her as a prostitute, not a victim. They survived on the few $100s Chloe had saved, eating cheap fast food, sleeping in shifts. Maya was a wreck, plagued by nightmares, her body and her spirit broken. Chloe had to be the strong one. She had to be the mother, the protector, the role she had never had for herself. The money eventually ran out. They were on the streets, homeless, hungry, and desperate. And in that moment of absolute desperation, Chloe knew she had a choice. She could go back to the life and find another pimp, sell herself to survive, or she could take the one terrifying chance at a different kind of life. She saw a number on the back of a bus stop bench. A hotline for victims of domestic violence and trafficking. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely dial the number, but she did. A kind, calm voice answered on the other end. And for the first time in years, Chloe told her story. The whole ugly, painful truth. And the woman on the other end of the line, she listened and she believed her. That phone call was a lifeline. The hotline connected them with a shelter, a safe haven for women who had escaped the life. For the first time in weeks, they had a warm bed, a hot meal, and a door that locked. But more than that, they had a community, a circle of other women, other survivors who understood their story because they had lived it themselves. In that shelter, surrounded by the quiet strength of other broken but healing women, Chloe began the long, slow, painful process of putting herself back together. She went to therapy and she dealt with the years of trauma, of abuse, of manipulation. She learned that what had happened to her wasn't her fault. She learned that she wasn't a prostitute. She was a victim of a sophisticated, brutal form of modern-day slavery. And in naming it and understanding it, she began to reclaim her own power. Maya started to heal too. The terror in her eyes began to be replaced by a fragile, tentative hope. They were two survivors holding each other up, finding their way out of the darkness, one small step at a time. Chloe had escaped the cage. Now she was learning how to fly again. And she knew, with a new fierce resolve, that she wasn't just going to fly. She was going to make sure that the man who had caged her would never be able to hurt another woman again. The decision to go to the police was the hardest one Chloe had ever made. It meant facing her past, exposing her most private and painful secrets to a cold, indifferent system. It meant facing Julian. But with the support of the women at the shelter and a tough, compassionate detective who specialized in human trafficking cases, she did it. She walked into that police station and she gave her statement. It took hours and it was a painful, humiliating process. But with every word she spoke, she felt a piece of her own strength returning. She was no longer just a victim. She was a witness. Her testimony and Maya's was the key that unlocked the case against Julian. The police started to build a mountain of evidence, and they found other girls, other victims, all of them with the same story of love, manipulation, and abuse. Julian wasn't just a pimp. He was a serial predator. They arrested him in a raid on his apartment. He was with another new girl, another life he was in the process of destroying. When they let him out in cuffs, his face was not one of remorse. It was a mask of pure, arrogant rage. He had been a king in his own small, dark world, and he couldn't believe it was all coming down. The trial was a brutal, soul-bearing experience. Chloe had to get on the stand and tell her story in front of a crowded courtroom. Julian's lawyer tried to tear her apart, to paint her as a willing prostitute, a liar, a gold digger. He tried to use her past against her to make her feel ashamed, to make her doubt her own truth. But Chloe held her ground. She looked at the jury and she told them the truth. Her voice was quiet, but it was unwavering. She was not the broken, scared girl he had created anymore. She was a survivor, and her story was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The jury believed her. They found Julian guilty on all counts: human trafficking, racketeering, assault. The judge sentenced him to life in prison. As they led him away, his eyes met Chloe's one last time. The arrogance was gone. In its place was a look of pure, impotent hatred. He was a king who had been dethroned, a predator who had been caged. Chloe felt no sense of victory, no joy, just a profound, weary sense of relief. It was over. The ghost of her past had finally been laid to rest. She walked out of that courtroom into the sunlight, her head held high. She had faced her monster, and she had won. The long, hard journey of rebuilding her life was still ahead of her, but she was walking it on her own terms. A free woman, forever scarred but forever unbroken. And so we come to the end of the story of Love for Sale. A story that shows you that the most dangerous prisons are not the ones with steel bars. They are the ones we build for ourselves. And the ones that others build for us out of lies, out of manipulation, and out of a twisted, poisonous kind of love. Julian was a classic predator. He preyed on the most vulnerable parts of the human heart. The need for love, for belonging, for a safe place to land. He was a master at turning that need into a weapon, at creating a fantasy so powerful that it blinded his victims to the ugly truth of their own enslavement. But this story is not really about him. It's about Chloe. It's about her strength, her courage, her incredible resilience. She was a victim, yes, but she refused to be defined by her victimhood. She found a way to break free, not just from the physical cage, but from the mental one. And in doing so, she became a hero. Her story is a powerful reminder to the women out there who might be in a similar situation, who might be trapped in a relationship that feels more like a prison than a partnership. You are not alone, and there is help, and you are stronger than you know. And to the men, to the brothers, to the fathers, we have a responsibility to teach our sons what real love looks like, a love that is built on respect, on honesty, on partnership, not on control, not on ownership, and to protect our daughters, our sisters, our mothers from the predators who walk among us, often wearing the mask of a charming, loving man. The world is full of Julians, men who see love not as a gift, but as a commodity, who see women not as partners, but as property. And it's on all of us to create a world where their particular brand of poison can no longer find a place to take root. Chloe found her way out. She rebuilt her life. She turned her pain into a source of power. Her story is a testament to the unbreakable strength of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, there is always the possibility of a new dawn, a dawn of healing, of hope, and of a quiet, hard-won, and profoundly beautiful freedom. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.